Wow, what a weekend in the Premier League, huh? Matchday 22 was absolutely bonkers. Upsets galore, tactical battles all over the pitch. I mean, you really couldn't ask for much more.
It really was a wild one. I haven't seen this many surprising results in ages.
So, are you ready to break it all down?
Oh, you know I am. Let's get right into it.
All right, then. Let's start off with the Newcastle Bournemouth match. I gotta admit, seeing Bournemouth win 4-1 at St. James's Park, that was a shocker.
Yeah, that scoreline raised some eyebrows, for sure.
What happened there?
Well, Bournemouth, they really did their homework. They knew Newcastle's right back. He's been struggling with his positioning all season long. And Bournemouth, they saw that as an opportunity. Their wingers just kept overloading that side of the pitch. And, well, two of their goals came directly from that.
So you're saying it wasn't just a fluke performance. Bournemouth had a plan and they executed it perfectly.
Absolutely. It was a very calculated tactical approach.
Do you think Newcastle will be looking to shore up that defense in the transfer window?
I'd say it's a real possibility, yeah. If they want to compete at the top, they're going to need to address that weakness somehow.
Yeah, fair point. But hey, while Newcastle was struggling, Liverpool kept rolling along, right? They grabbed another solid victory, 2-0 against Brentford.
Yeah, they're a machine, aren't they? It seems like nothing can stop them right now.
What's the secret sauce for their success?
Well, their midfield control is something else. I mean, they just dominate possession. And Brentford, they couldn't get anything going offensively.
So they just shut Brentford down completely.
Pretty much. And
Yep.
then, of course, you have their pressing, which, well, it's relentless. Imagine like a pack of wolves, just hunting down the ball. That's Liverpool.
I'm starting to get scared just thinking about it.
It's impressive to watch, though, how they just swarm the opposition, forcing errors and winning the ball high up the pitch. It's incredible.
I see. So it's like they're always one step ahead.
Exactly. Tactical discipline combined with some serious individual talent. It's a recipe for success, that's for sure.
Makes sense. Now, Brentford, on the other hand, they really struggled to create any real scoring chances, didn't they?
Yeah, they just couldn't seem to break through Liverpool's backline. And that backline, it's rock solid.
So what needs to change for Brentford?
Well, they need to figure out a way to unlock those tough defenses.
Yeah.
They need to be more clinical in front of goal if they want to climb the table.
Agreed. Speaking of clinical, we have to talk about Fulham. They went on the road and took down Leicester City 2-0.
Yeah, impressive stuff. They were so disciplined and organized. They absorbed all that Leicester pressure, then hit them on the counter.
Tactical masterclass, right?
You got it. And from what I heard, Leicester's manager wasn't too pleased with his team's performance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he called it unacceptable. Said they need to be much better.
I guess so. They lost at home. All right, well, let's shift gears and talk about a team that's definitely on the rise. Crystal Palace. They pulled off a pretty surprising win, beating West Ham 2-0.
Yeah, West Ham looked a bit lost in that one. They really struggled to break Palace down.
Interesting. What do you think this win says about Palace's potential for the rest of the season, especially after beating a team like West Ham?
I think it shows they're a real threat. Their defense was like a wall, and their forwards, their movement was excellent. They were so clinical in front of goal.
It sounds like they're firing on all cylinders right now.
They are. And if they can keep this level of play up, they could be a real dark horse in the race for a top half finish.
I like it. Now, how about that match at the Emirates? Arsenal and Aston Villa went toe-to-toe. It was a real nail-biter. Ended in a 2-2 draw. Pretty dramatic stuff.
It was a roller coaster, back and forth the whole way. Both teams really brought it.
Arsenal, I mean, they always seem to have such a potent attack, but they also had some defensive slip-ups, didn't they?
Yeah, and Aston Villa, they were ready to pounce on those mistakes.
Aston Villa, they fought back hard after going behind early. What do you think was the key to their comeback?
Well, their manager, he made some really smart tactical changes at halftime. They started pressing higher up the field, forcing Arsenal into those mistakes. Plus, they were really effective on the counterattack.
So both teams had their moments, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
So, big picture, what does this draw mean for both teams? Where do they go from here?
Well, for Arsenal, it's a missed opportunity, right? A chance to extend their lead at the top of the table. If they want to stay in the title race, they need to tighten things up defensively.
Yeah, those drop points could come back to haunt them later on.
Exactly. And for Aston Villa, it shows they can compete with the best. They were organized, disciplined. They showed a lot of grit.
All right, so let's move on to Goodison Park, shall we? Everton staged an incredible comeback to beat Tottenham 3-2. 5 goals. Talk about a thriller.
Yeah, talk about a game that had it all. Tottenham jumped out to an early lead, but Everton, They just refused to quit. They battled their way back into it.
That midfield, they were absolutely dominant in the second half, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, they were everywhere, winning the ball back, launching attack after attack. It felt like Tottenham couldn't catch a break.
And Tottenham, they seemed a bit shaky in the back, right?
Yeah, their defense, it just wasn't up to par in that one. And in the end, it cost them.
This result could really shake things up in the race for European spots.
No doubt about it. But hold on, because we haven't even gotten to the biggest story of the weekend yet.
I know, we have to talk about it. Brighton. They went to Old Trafford and they beat Manchester United.
Can you believe it? It's the upset of the season. Maybe even the upset of the decade.
I mean, I'm still trying to process it myself. Tell me, how did Brighton do it? What was the magic formula?
Well, for starters, their high pressing was relentless. They just disrupted everything Manchester United tried to do. Every time United tried to build up play, Brighton was there in their faces, forcing mistakes.
So they just completely shut down Manchester United's attack.
Pretty much, yeah. They were incredibly disciplined, very well organized, and when they got their chances, they were absolutely clinical in front of goal. This wasn't a fluke. Brighton is a well-coached, talented team.
It was a statement win for sure. But after a result like this, I think everyone's wondering the same thing.
What's that?
If a team like Brighton can go into Old Trafford and pull off a victory like this, does that mean the playing field is leveling in the Premier League?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It certainly makes you think, are the days of Big Six dominance really coming to an end?
It's an interesting thought for sure. Teams like Brighton are proving that with the right tactics and a fearless mentality, you can compete with anyone, anywhere.
And that's what makes the Premier League so great, right? You just never know what's going to happen next.
Absolutely. And for Manchester United fans, well, I can only imagine the disappointment.
Yeah, they must be reeling after that one.
Definitely. This defeat, it's a major blow to their ambitions this season. There were a lot of people calling for tactical changes, for defensive reinforcements, the whole 9 yards.
It will be fascinating to see how they bounce back from this. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about some of the standout individual performances from Matchday 22.
Sounds good.
That Bournemouth attacking duo, they were phenomenal against Newcastle. They just tore that defense apart. What made them so effective?
Well, they were just a constant threat, always on the move, finding space, exploiting those gaps in Newcastle's backline. And their link-up play was fantastic. They were always combining, creating chances. Just a nightmare for Newcastle to deal with.
Yeah, it seemed like they were in sync the entire match.
Exactly. They were a joy to watch, that's for sure.
And what about Crystal Palace's forward line? They were equally impressive against West Ham.
They were so efficient. I mean, every chance they got, they made it count. And the way they moved off the ball, it was like they could anticipate each other's every move. They were a huge reason why Palace won that match.
It sounds like they have a real understanding of each other's game.
They do. It's a great partnership. And, of course, you can't forget about Brighton. Their entire team performance against Manchester United was just brilliant. They were so disciplined, so organized, and so clinical.
Yeah, every player seemed to know their role perfectly.
Exactly. It was a real tactical triumph. They pressed relentlessly, they exploited Manchester United's weaknesses, and they made the most of their opportunities.
You have to give credit to their manager. He's built a really impressive team.
Oh, absolutely. They're playing some really attractive, intelligent football right now.
So, big takeaway from this absolutely crazy Matchday 22. What do you think are the biggest storylines to emerge from this weekend?
Well, for me, it just proves what I've always said. The Premier League is full of surprises. You never know what's going to happen. We saw upsets. We saw comebacks. We saw some really thrilling attacking football.
You can't predict anything in this league.
You really can't.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so exciting, right? I mean, the races for the title and for survival, they're tighter than ever. I think we're in for a wild ride as we head towards the end of the season.
I'm already on the edge of my seat.
Me too. It's going to be amazing to see how it all plays out.
Now, before we move on, I'd love to get your expert opinion on something. Of all the teams that played this weekend, which one do you think made the biggest statement, and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. There were so many great performances. But if I had to pick just one, I think I'd have to go with Brighton.
Brighton.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. That win at Old Trafford wasn't just an upset. It was a declaration.
A declaration.
Yeah. They showed everyone that they belong. They were tactically brilliant, they attacked with purpose, and they showed absolutely no fear against one of the biggest clubs in the world.
It was a coming out party for sure.
It really was. And it sent a message to the rest of the league. Brighton is here, and they're ready to compete.
I love it. Underdogs rising up. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And it just goes to show you, in the Premier League, anything is possible.
Okay, so looking ahead to the next few match days, what are you most excited to see? What are the key storylines that you'll be following?
Well, with the title race heating up and the relegation battle intensifying, honestly, every match is going to be crucial.
Yeah, no room for error now.
Exactly. But I'm particularly curious to see how Arsenal responds to that draw against Aston Villa. Can they regain their momentum, or will the pressure start to get to them?
It's a real test of their character, that's for sure.
It is. And then, of course, you have Manchester City lurking right behind them, waiting to capitalize on any slip-up. The next few weeks are going to be absolute massive in deciding the title race.
Oh, absolutely. This is where things get really interesting.
And let's not forget about those teams fighting to avoid relegation. Every point is precious for them.
It's going to be a desperate fight to the finish.
You said it.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about our own thoughts on Match Day 22. But what about our listeners? What surprised you the most? What moments had you jumping out of your seat? Was it Bournemouth's resurgence, Crystal Palace's impressive victory over West Ham, or maybe Brighton's tactical masterclass against Manchester United? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What were your biggest takeaways from this wild weekend of football?
And while you're thinking about that, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back to dive even deeper into the tactical nuances of Matchday 22. Don't go anywhere.
We'll be right back. It really does make you wonder, does this signal a shift in the balance of power?
Maybe. I mean, can these so-called smaller clubs like Brighton and Bournemouth actually break into that elite tier?
It's going to be fascinating to watch, that's for sure.
It is. But for now, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about some of the individual performances that really stood out this match day.
All right, sounds good.
Let's start with that Bournemouth attacking duo. They were absolutely electric against Newcastle. I mean, they were just slicing through that defense like a hot knife through butter. What made them so effective?
Well, their movement was just phenomenal. They were always finding space, always exploiting those gaps that Newcastle's defense just couldn't seem to close.
So basically they were just too quick, too clever for Newcastle's defenders.
Exactly. They were a step ahead all game long. And their link-up play, it was just fantastic. They were constantly combining, creating chances. It was like they had a telepathic connection out there.
It sounds like they were unstoppable. And what about Crystal Palace's forwards? They were equally impressive against West Ham.
Oh, they were clinical.
Yeah.
I mean, every chance they got, they made it count. And they moved off the ball so well, like they knew exactly where the other one was going to be. It was like they were reading each other's minds.
Yeah, they were definitely in sync.
They were. It was a great display of teamwork.
Okay, and of course, we can't forget about Brighton. Their entire team performance against Manchester United was just masterful. They were so disciplined, so organized, and they took their chances when they came.
Yeah, it was a tactical clinic, really. They pressed high, they forced Manchester United into making mistakes, and they were ruthless in front of goal. Every player, from the goalkeeper to the strikers, they all knew their roles and they executed them perfectly.
It's amazing to see a team like Brighton come in and dismantle a giant like Manchester United. It really shows you the power of tactics and teamwork.
It really does.
So after all the excitement, the upsets, the goals, the drama of Matchday 22, what are your big takeaways? What are the key storylines that emerged from this weekend?
Well, I think this match day really hammered home the point that the Premier League is one of the most unpredictable leagues in the world.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. I mean, any team can beat any other team on any given day. We saw upsets, we saw comebacks, and some truly brilliant displays of attacking football.
We sure did. And what does that mean for the rest of the season?
Well, it means that the races for the title and for survival are going to be absolutely captivating.
Yeah, we're in for a wild ride, folks.
We are.
Now, before we wrap things up, I want to pick your brain about something. Which team, in your opinion, made the biggest statement this match day?
That's a tough one. But you know what? I'm going to stick with Brighton.
Brighton again.
Yeah. That win at Old Trafford, it was more than just an upset. It was a declaration. They went toe-to-toe with one of the biggest clubs in the world on their home turf, and they came out on top. They showed tactical awareness, they showed attacking prowess, and they showed absolutely no fear.
They certainly didn't back down from the challenge.
They didn't, and I think that's a really powerful message. It shows that in the Premier League, anything is possible if you have the right approach and the right mentality.
It's a testament to the spirit of the underdog, right?
Absolutely. It shows that even the so-called smaller teams can achieve great things if they believe in themselves and execute their game plan.
I love it. So looking ahead to the next few match days, what are you most excited to see unfold? What are the key narratives that you'll be following closely?
Well, with the title race so tight and the relegation battle so fierce, I'm really intrigued to see how Arsenal responds after dropping points against Aston Villa. Can they regain that winning momentum?
The pressure is definitely on.
It is. And then, of course, you have Manchester City. They're right there on Arsenal's heels, waiting for them to slip up. The next few weeks are going to be crucial for both those teams.
Yeah, the title race is going down to the wire, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about those teams battling to stay in the Premier League. Every point is vital for them.
Absolutely. It's going to be a desperate fight to the finish line.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about our own thoughts on Matchday 22, but now we want to hear from you. What surprised you the most? What moments had you jumping out of your seat? Was it Bournemouth's resurgence? Crystal Palace's impressive victory over West Ham? Or maybe Brighton's tactical masterclass against Manchester United? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspectives.
Yeah, let's keep this conversation going. Tell us what you think.
And while you're doing that, we're going to take a quick break. But don't worry, we'll be back in a flash to continue our deep dive into Matchday 22.
We'll be right back. You know, for me, it's got to be how Brighton just shut down Manchester United's attack. I mean, we're talking about one of the most dangerous attacking teams in the whole league.
Yeah, they're loaded with talent.
And Brighton just completely neutralized them. It's like they had an answer for everything United threw at them.
It really exposed those defensive weaknesses we talked about earlier.
Exactly. And they did it with such precision. It was like watching a perfectly choreographed dance.
It makes you wonder if this is a sign of things to come. I mean, can teams like Brighton and Bournemouth really challenge the established order? Can they keep competing at this level and really shake things up?
It's definitely a possibility. What we're seeing is that tactical innovation and a fearless approach can really make a difference. It doesn't matter who you're playing against.
So you're saying the gap between the top teams and the rest of the league is shrinking?
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
The Premier League is becoming more competitive than ever before.
And that's great for the fans, right?
Yeah.
More upsets, more drama, more excitement.
Exactly. This match day was a perfect example of that. The underdogs came to play. They were prepared, they were passionate, and they earned their results.
It was a reminder that anything is possible in the Premier League.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this incredible Matchday 22, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the Premier League is a league where anyone can dream. Tactical innovation, individual brilliance, and a never-say-die attitude can make all the difference. It doesn't matter what your team's history is or what the pundits say.
So you're saying that we're entering a new era of the Premier League?
Yeah, an era where anything is possible, where the underdogs can rise up and challenge the giants, where every match is a battle and every point is precious.
I love it. This match day was a testament to that fact. It showed us that the Premier League is a competition where passion upsets and tactical brilliance reign supreme.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to all our listeners out there, keep watching, keep analyzing, and keep believing, because this season is far from over. And who knows what surprises await us in the weeks to come.
That's right. The best is yet to come.
We'll be back next week to break it all down for you.
Yeah.
But until then, enjoy the beautiful game.